I'm pretty sure you guys remember Persona 3 from 2006. It was a game that came out in July of that year, and it was a pretty cool RPG game, and it was one that ended up being one of the hottest RPGs of that year. The other one being Final Fantasy 12, which came out back in March of 2006. And despite the Persona series being around since the mid 90s, I believe the series began in 96. It seems like the series began becoming increasingly popular following the release of Persona 4. Not to say that Persona 3 wasn't popular, but it was not as popular as Persona 4 from 2008, especially P4 Golden from 2012, which was the Vita, remake of what we got for the PlayStation 3 in 2008. And also the latest Persona game, which came out back in 2016. That's probably the most popular Persona game ever made, depending on who you ask. But as far as Persona 3 is concerned, this is a game that didn't receive quite as much mainstream attention as it should have. It doesn't get talked about to the same extent as Persona 4 or even Persona 5. And as far as gameplay is concerned, it was praised for its gameplay, intriguing storylines, and its visuals. But unfortunately, it's a game that arguably was overshadowed by Final Fantasy 12, which came out earlier that year. As far as Final Fantasy 12 is concerned, it was a game that went on to sell over 6 million copies by the time we got to 2009. And believe it or not, I mean, people were still playing the PS2 by 2009 because that's how popular it was. Just look at how much the console has sold throughout the decade. In fact, the PlayStation 2 remains to be the best-selling game console of all time, so it's understandable that Final Fantasy 12 sold as much as it did by the time we got to 2009 because people were still playing the PS2 by the end of the decade. Now, the question is, could this game have worked on Nintendo GameCube? Well, here's the thing: we haven't really seen too many major installments of the Persona series on any Nintendo-based consoles. It was mainly just PlayStation consoles. And as far as whether or not Persona 3 could have worked on GameCube, I don't think it could have. Maybe it could have in theory, but honestly, in practice, it probably wouldn't have because you look at GameCube and how much storage space you had for games back in the day in terms of memory. Like with memory cards, you can only save so much on each memory card. So like the memory, the amount of space you got on a GameCube memory card based on the amount of space or versus the amount of space you got on a PlayStation 2 memory card was completely different. There was way more space on the PlayStation 2, and it's hard to see Persona 3, working on GameCube, especially considering the fact that GameCube was not as popular. It definitely wasn't a commercial success. In fact, GameCube remains to be one of Nintendo's lowest selling game consoles of all time, alongside of Wii U. I believe GameCube sold more than Wii U because it sold uh, like roughly around 22 million or roughly under that. Wii U sold much less. And honestly, aside from Nintendo exclusives, I can't remember any major games standing out on GameCube. Not to say that there wasn't any, but there were games such as Metroid Prime, Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario Kart Double Dash. You had Zelda Twilight Princess that shined on GameCube, and I feel like any other third-party game that could have been on on GameCube would have been overshadowed at some point. So I think it was best for Persona 3 to remain a PlayStation 2 exclusive. And despite how popular, you know, GameCube was during the first half of the decade, because a lot of people loved GameCube, and it was one of the more memorable game systems of the 2000s decade that Nintendo has given us. The Wii was far more successful. I could see Persona 3 working on the Wii console, and because not only was the Wii console just more successful, but you had, I guess, you had better visuals, and you probably had more space to work with when it came to memory and all that. Because you gotta remember, Nintendo Wii came out during the second half of 2006. I can't remember exactly which month, but it had to be around the holiday season, probably around like October or November. Uh, it could have definitely have worked on the Wii console, but at that time, the PlayStation 2 was just more popular. It was way more popular than the PlayStation 3, despite, the PlayStation 3 being a more superior game system than the PlayStation 2. In fact, I'm shocked that this game was not safe for the PlayStation 3 as a PS3 exclusive. Because I know the PlayStation 3 wasn't backwards compatible, but the PlayStation 3 was a more superior game system. So, the game itself could have been much better if it ran on the PlayStation 3. But, who knows? As far as Persona 3 as a game is concerned, I think Persona 3 is a game that definitely deserves more credit than it gets. And I know it got high, ratings and reviews and all that as far as, gaming publications have rated the game and all. But, Persona 3, I can't see it working on GameCube. I can possibly see it working on Nintendo Wii, but it probably would not have been as popular as it was if it was not on the PlayStation 2.